start with an opening statement from Coach Berry. After that, it'll be open for questions.
Golly, it's here, isn't it? I think one of the most enjoyable times for coaches is recognizing that it's time. And so we're here right now. I'm excited about this football team. I think we have an awful lot of, obviously, returning starters. We have a lot of guys that were injured last year that we felt like were some of our better players that are back with us now. And so the competition on the field is that much more intense. But I'm really excited about the chemistry of our team and kind of their expectations. I think certainly last year was a good season for us. 8 wins is not a great season, but for us it was a huge season because it was that season where you break down that barrier of well, you can't have a winning season and you can't beat a top 10 team, you can't win a big one on the road, and you can't do this and you can't do that. And our players and our fan base has been hearing that for years. And for those things to not be out there anymore, and for instead of all the things being we can't do this, all of a sudden there's the hope that you can do this. And so we've certainly got a challenging schedule. I think the conference is continuing to improve, and we're looking forward to just a really, really fun season this year. There's questions?
You and UL top 2. I mean, that's going to be a big atmosphere with you two guys.
Yeah, it probably will be. It's been interesting games in the past as we've had with several other people. They've got a good football team. We think we have a good football team, and obviously last game of the season, so there's a lot of season to be played before that ever happens. And as we all know, just injuries, luck, how the ball bounces, a lot of things can impact. So, but as probably Mark would probably say the same thing. It's all about kind of where you finish. We all know that. But I tell you what, regardless of what anybody says, it's always better for someone to rank you first than to rank you last, because I've been on both ends of that thing, and ranking last is not a great thing. So we'll take it and run with it.
That being said, it's a big change from 1 year ago where you had no preseason players listed on the team, and I guess you're picked middle of the pack. What does that say about just 1 year and having so many, most returning spots in the nation? And so I guess people recognize that you have a lot of experience with 5 guys picked on that team.
Yeah, I think that I was excited about last year's team. I was pretty open with that. Last year at this point in time, I felt like the group had really matured. It was such a young football team, and this is the first time that we have a senior, junior dominated team. There's no question that we built for this season, Tabby. And we do have the most cumulative starters coming back, I think, is the way that's of anybody in the country. So we've got a lot of guys that play a lot of football, and I think the thing that I'm much more comfortable with this year in relation to last is our depth on our football team is much, much better. And a lot of it's because of injuries, because we've had the injuries in the past. But we're actually 2 deep with guys that we feel pretty good about. In some positions, we're 3 deep with guys that have played a lot of ball. And so last year I was worried about injuries and how that could impact the season. And we had a good team, I think, early in the season until we got injured. But you lose 6 of your top 8 players for the rest of the season, your best players, I don't care where you're at. By mid-season last year, we lost 6 of our top 8, and that's hard to overcome. I mean, that's just really difficult. But now we are seeing kind of the fruits of all that in this upcoming season. So,
did you expect to be up there for that co-favorite?
I would have been a little bit disappointed probably if we hadn't, quite honestly, because again, with the cumulative starts we have coming back, with the experience of this football team, I think we've got some dynamic players on our team. I think the NFL's excited about some of our guys for the first time. Our guys are more mature. They've grown up together. We look like a 1A football team's supposed to look right now. So yeah, I would have been somewhat disappointed. But again, I was disappointed last year too. In kind of where we got picked. But the reality of it was that. It's all about kind of what your expectations are, and I think this team has done a pretty good job of being able to, any kind of distractions, whether they be positive or negative, they've been able to turn those things off. And I'll go back to after the Arkansas win last year, there were a lot of peripheral opponents out there between media and fan base and all the distractions, and we came back against Auburn and played pretty well, and then turned around after a really, really difficult loss and played pretty well against Baylor. And so I think this team's been able to turn all those distractions off and really just kind of focus on really the task at hand, and that's just preparation.
You called the two with Lafayette the last 2 years interesting. How much does the end of last year's linger for you guys? And the fact that it is late in the season, that game will kind of be out of your system by then, or will that still be a motivator for you guys?
Oh, I don't know. I think that because we have a more mature team, it'll probably stay with us a little bit longer because this group is, again, they've played together for a long time. When you start looking at Colton Browning, Tavares May, and Jairus Edwards, and Cameron Blakes, and Jerron Ham, and Josh Allen, I mean, all these guys have been basically going in their fourth year starting. And so they've gone through a lot of games together, and so I think that they probably all resonate real well with them.
How excited are you to see Colton's return and then just to see what he could do after what he did last year? The expectation, I should say.
Well, I coach the quarterbacks, and so Colton and I's relationship is probably unique along those lines because I'm not just the head coach, I'm his position coach. And, Colton, his sophomore year, he broke his sternum, but he kept playing. That was not public knowledge. But there was a lot of people he had the sophomore slump, and it really, he wasn't happy with that. I wasn't either, quite honestly, because I knew how much he was hurting his sophomore year. So there, kind of answering your first part of the question, or I guess the second part of your question is, I'm not surprised in the success that he had last year, because I think we saw it demonstrated his sophomore year. Now, am I excited about him coming back this year? Yes, because he's a really good player. We were just talking with one of the other coaches in the league that I used to work with, Doug Martin, and I used to coach together. And Colton was standing there with us, and we were talking about quarterback meetings and how, the quarterback meetings now have become, our position meetings are more debates, okay? We'll talk about stuff, and that's really, really fun. It's that kind of go-between the player and the coach, and about, what is the coverage, and, what is the next snap going to entail? What is the defensive structure going to be? Are they going to blitz based off the down and distance? And we get into this game to where we're actually playing the game in our minds, and he really, truly is an extension of our staff out there on the field. He knows the offense. He understands down and distance. Anytime that you've got in today's college football, when you've got a quarterback, you've got a chance. And we've got a quarterback, so we got a chance.
Coach, you're talking about